All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are going deep, deep into how nature optimizes.
Oh, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, you sent in some awesome material on optimization principles in natural systems, and I was blown away.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I knew nature was efficient, but sections 11.1 through 11.4, whoa.
It's amazing how nature has figured this stuff out over, millions of years.
It really is. It's not just survival of the fittest, right? It's like, how does nature find this balance between growth and efficiency? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start with something simple.
Yeah.
Okay. The principle of least effort. So this is like, even nature likes a shortcut.
I mean, think about it this way. Systems evolved to use the least amount of energy possible. Like, that's it.
It's just like being lazy.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
It's more about being efficient.
Okay.
Because energy is a big deal in nature, right?
Right.
So minimizing how much you're spending, it's like key to survival.
So it's more like working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
And and that kind of leads us to this thing called Murray's Law,
Okay.
which is all about how branching systems, those things that branch out,
Right.
they're optimized for resource flow. This applies to like everything.
Yeah.
From the veins in a leaf to our own circulatory systems, it's crazy.
Okay, so tell me about Murray's Law. Like, how does that work?
Okay, imagine you're a tree
Okay.
and you're trying to get water to all your leaves, right?
Lots of leaves.
Yeah, tons of leaves. Now, if the channels are too narrow, like those little tubes in the branches, it's like you trying to drink a milkshake through a coffee straw.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
It's not going to work. It's inefficient. You're going to be frustrated, right?
Right.
But if they're too wide, then it's wasteful, right? You're using all this extra material energy. Murray's Law, it helps nature find that perfect middle ground.
The sweet spot.
Exactly, the sweet spot, so that everything gets just the right amount of flow.
So how does that apply to, like you said, the human vascular system? How does that?
Same principle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our blood vessels need to deliver oxygen, nutrients efficiently throughout our entire body. And Murray's Law, it dictates the optimal size and branching patterns
Wow.
of our arteries and veins. So it ensures smooth and energy efficient flow.
So it's the same law that's working in a tree and in my body.
Crazy, right?
That's wild.
But what's even more fascinating is that we see this Murray's Law at work in systems beyond just biology.
Okay, like what?
Like, think about urban planning, right? How we design our transportation networks in a city.
Okay.
We want smooth traffic flow. We want efficient movement of people and goods. It's the same principle.
So we can look to nature to help us design better cities.
Yeah, and that kind of takes us to the Constructal Law,
Okay.
which expands on this even further. It says that any system at all, that evolves over time, it will naturally try to improve its flow and its distribution networks, whether it's biological, social, technological, anything.
So nature's always striving to be better.
Yeah, it's constantly adapting, refining.
Okay.
Like, think about the evolution of a river delta. Over time, they develop these intricate branching patterns. They efficiently distribute water, sediment across the landscape. Same thing with cities, how they grow, even the way information spreads on a social network.
Well, like the internet.
Exactly.
Well, that's a great example.
The internet is a prime example, constantly optimizing its flow and connectivity, becoming more efficient, more accessible over time.
So we've covered the principle of least effort, Murray's Law, the Constructal Law. Seems like nature is all about optimization.
Totally.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a second,
Yeah.
okay? We hear a lot about energy efficiency these days. How does nature handle that?
Oh, nature is the ultimate energy saver. Think about it. Every organism, a tiny ant to a giant whale, they're constantly working to get the most out of the energy they have. It's a matter of survival, especially in tough environments, scarce resources and all that.
So what are some of the ways nature saves energy?
Well, think about hibernation.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. That's a classic way to conserve energy when food is scarce or it's freezing outside. Or migration. Animals following the resources, avoiding the bad weather. And don't forget about plants. They've evolved photosynthesis, capturing sunlight, converting it into usable energy, all with amazing efficiency.
That's something we're still trying to figure out, right? With solar power and all that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is.
Studying how nature does it can teach us so much about building more sustainable and efficient technologies.
Okay, so we've talked about the principle of least effort, Murray's Law, and the Constructal Law, all about nature's efficiency and flow. We even touched on energy efficiency, which is super important for survival. But these all seem to focus on individual organisms or like individual systems. What about an entire ecosystem? Like, how does that optimize?
Oh, that's a great question. That's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Because those principles, they help explain how individuals and systems work efficiently, but they also play a role in shaping the balance of entire ecosystems.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, picture an ecosystem like a giant puzzle, you know?
Okay.
Each piece is a different species or like element of the environment, and they fit together in this amazing way. They're maximizing resource use, minimizing waste, promoting the overall health of the whole thing.
So it's not just every species for themselves, it's more like working together.
Exactly. It's all about the whole system, working in harmony. Think of a forest.
Okay.
You got trees competing for sunlight, nutrients, water, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
But they also depend on each other. For shade, soil stability, they even communicate.
Wait, what? Trees can talk to each other.
Not like, chatting over coffee or anything,
Aye.
but they send these chemical signals through underground fungal networks, like warning each other about insects or drought.
So they're like helping each other out.
Yeah, it's wild. And that cooperation, it benefits the whole forest, regulates resources, makes it more resilient to like storms or whatever, ensures the long-term health.
So it's not just about survival of the fittest like we always hear.
Right. Nature's full of examples where species actually benefit from each other. Think about bees and flowers.
Okay, yeah.
Bees get nectar, but they pollinate the flowers so they can reproduce.
Win-win.
Total win-win. Millions of years of evolution figuring that out.
So competition is important, but working together is a big deal too.
Huge. And these principles, they're not just for forests. They work on a much bigger scale.
Like,
Well, how energy flows through an ecosystem, right? Starts with the sun. Plants use photosynthesis. Herbivores eat the plants. Carnivores eat the
the
herbivores.
circle of life.
Exactly. But at each step, some energy is lost as heat.
Okay.
So the structure of those food webs, all those connections between like producers, consumers, decomposers, it's all designed to maximize energy flow, minimize waste.
Nature's pretty smart.
The best. And this is super important for us to understand if we want to be sustainable.
You mean like how we use resources and stuff?
Exactly. Natural ecosystems, they figured out how to achieve balance and efficiency. That's what we need to learn from.
So we should be looking at nature for inspiration.
Big time. It's called biomimicry.
Bio what?
Biomimicry. It's using nature as like a model for solving problems.
Oh, interesting.
Like buildings inspired by termite mounds to stay cool naturally,
Cool.
or new materials based on spider silk, super strong.
Wow.
Nature's been doing research and development for like 3.8 billion years.
That's a lot of R&D.
Tons. But sometimes it feels like we're fighting against nature, not learning from it.
Yeah, true. We're cutting down forests, polluting, messing things up.
Right. So first, we got to change our mindset
What do you mean?
from dominating and controlling nature to respecting and collaborating with it.
So we need to be more like partners with nature.
Exactly. We're part of it, not separate. And what we do, it matters to the whole web of life.
We need to think about the big picture.
Totally. We got to integrate our systems with natural systems so everyone benefits.
That makes sense.
And that takes a deep understanding of how nature works, how it's evolved to be so efficient, resilient, sustainable, all those things we've been talking about.
So we should be more humble and listen to what nature's trying to tell us.
Couldn't say it better myself.
This has been like eye-opening. I'm seeing the world differently now.
Right. It's amazing stuff. These principles are like everywhere once you start noticing them.
And they've been working all along. We just never realized.
Millions of years just quietly shaping everything.
It's kind of humbling. Nature's the ultimate engineer.
Totally. Always tinkering, always improving.
Makes you think about those systems that seem so chaotic, like weather patterns
Oh.
or animal migrations. I always thought they were just random. But are they also following these optimization principles?
Absolutely. It might look messy from the outside, but there's an order to it. Deep down, it's all about efficiency, resources, adaptation, all that stuff.
Okay, so animal migrations, like those huge herds of wildebeest, how do they know where to go? Like thousands of miles.
It's incredible, isn't it? They're driven by this deep need to find the best resources.
Okay.
They're following routes that have been like perfected over centuries to find food, water, good places to have babies, all that.
So it's not random at all. It's like a plan.
Exactly. Encoded in their genes, passed down over generations.
Wow.
And they're tuned into the seasons, the weather, even knowing where the food will be miles and miles away, like an internal GPS.
That's insane. But what about weather? That seems so unpredictable and sometimes, like, destructive.
Right. But even weather, as crazy as it seems, it's following rules. There's like feedback mechanisms that are always trying to find balance.
Okay.
It's not about staying perfectly still. It's more like a dynamic balance with room for change and adjustments.
So it can swing back and forth.
Yeah, like a pendulum. Sometimes it goes too far, like with hurricanes or droughts. But those extremes, they can be important too. They kind of reset things, clear out old growth, create new habitats, spread nutrients around.
So even the bad stuff has a purpose.
Nature's good at adapting, bouncing back. It's always renewing, transforming.
Yeah. This makes you realize everything's connected. Even small changes can have a big impact.
Exactly. That's why we got to be careful. We're part of this web, not separate from it.
We need to respect nature more.
Totally.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the big takeaways? What should our listeners remember?
I hope they come away with a sense of awe, for how elegant and clever nature is.
I think you've done that.
And to start seeing the world differently, noticing those hidden patterns and connections everywhere.
Yeah.
And most importantly, to use these ideas in their own lives. Optimization, efficiency, resilience, all that. We can learn so much from nature.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and until next time, keep on diving deep.